Now, a warm cup of tea or coffee is what many of us need to get out of bed in the morning, but could your daily cuppa also be great for your health?
Recent studies have found that tea and coffee may have benefits and can even lower your risk of serious illnesses like stroke and dementia, but which is better? Zoe joins us now to spill the beans. And that's quite a big claim.
It is, isn't it, that they can lower your risk of things like stroke. And, you know, when we talk about lowering your risk of these types of diseases, it's a small lowering of risk overall, but actually what we know is if we do something very, very regularly, like drinking cups of tea and coffee, for those that do, if we do it repeatedly many times, even if it's a small benefit, over the course of your life, it can add up and make a difference,
So, I mean, normally you think... I mean, I would normally think that coffee is not necessarily great for you because it can disrupt your sleep, but tea's got caffeine in it as well.
Yes. I think we've been brought up thinking that caffeine is bad for us, and even within the scientific community at times we did think that it was potentially detrimental for our heart, but now we know actually there are benefits to caffeine, but not for everybody. So coffee, a typical cup of coffee, obviously it varies greatly, will have about 100 milligrams of caffeine, and a typical cup of tea about 50 milligrams, so half as much. And interestingly, the research tends to show that the benefits in terms of alertness and concentration and feeling like you're more awake are about equivocal for people who have tea or coffee. And these are self-reported, so, you know, with a pinch of salt. But actually, when it comes to the detrimental effects on sleep later in the day, there's more detriment with coffee than there is with tea. So, so people who have sleep issues, generally the advice is to avoid caffeine altogether, or certainly after lunchtime. But for people who sleep fine, then, yeah, it's fine to go with whatever your preference is.
I was making a chamomile tea at 1 o'clock this morning, so is that those sort of herbal teas that they're helpful for sleep? Yeah,
so various different herbal teas have health benefits too. They have some of the benefits of black tea, typical tea, in terms of antioxidants, and things like chamomile tea have been shown in research to help improve sleep. How much of that is placebo, how much of it is down to the actual chamomile itself. And the other thing to mention is you can buy different types of chamomile tea from different places, and some will be stronger than others and better quality. But yeah, definitely, you know, something like chamomile tea, peppermint tea as well for digestion can be really good.
And talking of digestion, caffeine, tea and coffee can be good for your gut.
So, yeah, so they contain polyphenols, and polyphenols are these substances that are in coffee and often in lots of fruits and vegetables that are bitter and dark, and they are like rocket fuel for our gut microbes. And if our gut microbes, the gut microbiome, which we're learning more and more about, if those microbes are happy, then they actually send signals, chemical signals to our brains that can make us feel more happy as well. Also, caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors in the brain. Now, we know that adenosine is what can make us feel sleepy. That's why it makes us feel awake. But some of the adenosine receptors as well can also cause depression-like symptoms. So newish research is showing that for some people, not for everybody, regularly drinking coffee can actually reduce your risk of depression and depression.
And by regularly, symptoms. Do you mean like every day rather than all day long?
Yes. So, yeah, 1 cup of coffee a day, up to 3 cups of coffee a day is recommended. The data shows that once you go beyond 5 cups of coffee, then actually it becomes more detrimental and you lose the benefits.
Got it.
So, but it varies widely from person to person. Some people can tolerate 5 cups of coffee and feel fine. Some people will have 1 weak cup and they'll get jittery, they'll feel anxious. So it really is dependent on the person.
And so, well, that's the sort of mental health side of things. What about heart disease?
So we used to think that potentially caffeine was detrimental. Now we know it's cardioprotective, so it can protect the heart. And we believe that's more so for coffee than for tea, but for both, it's largely down to some of the various different chemicals. When you put them all together, it's deemed that they protect the heart. Again, we always have to take the data with a pinch of salt because these are epidemiological studies. So that means that people who drink tea and coffee tend to have a lower risk of heart disease. It doesn't necessarily tell us for certain that it's the drinking of the tea and coffee that is lowering. It might be that people who drink tea and coffee are also more likely to exercise,
or
for
drink
example.
less alcohol.
Or drink less alcohol, yeah. Or, you know, because they're drinking more water, because they're having it in the tea and coffee. But it does suggest, actually, when you put it all together, that it's likely, the scientific community think it's likely that actually drinking tea and coffee does convey some protection to the heart.
Coffee's got fibre in it, tea doesn't?
Yeah, so coffee has quite a lot of fibre, more than a glass of orange juice.
Really?
It is surprising, because we tend to think of fibre as, like, husky,
Fibrous.
thick, fibrous stuff that can't dissolve, but there are soluble fibres as well. So a typical cup of coffee has 1.5 grams of fibre. We should be getting 30 grams of fibre a day, which most of us only usually get about half that. So if you do have 5 cups of coffee a day, I'm not necessarily suggesting everybody does, but that's a quarter of your fibre intake of the day done through coffee.
Obviously, bubble tea, massive craze from Taiwan. Some would say the acceptable face of tapioca.
Right.
But
I can't get it.
It's blocked with a ball.
It's not nice. That's the same
That's
slight pause before you burst a spot.
Yeah.
Now, you see, I'm not a huge fan of this either.
What?
I don't like it anyway, but...
Especially now.
Oh, my...
That is so gross.
God, that's it forever.
That is so gross. But
the
view on this is, you know, it's same with carbonated, caffeinated drinks. The amount of sugar in here is more detrimental, way more detrimental than any benefit from the caffeine. So an occasional treat if you like it, but not 5 of these a day, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much.